Hi, this is Ann V. Brady, and I'll be reading an excerpt from my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service, illustrated by Eric C. Brady. Chapter 15. Bob and I watch TV together during the day or play Guild Wars 2 together. One day, Ed, Bob, and I were talking, and I mentioned how I would love to find a place to ride a horse. I wondered if I was too old. I mentioned that I have always loved horses. When I was little, I wanted to have a horse to ride. Bob sarcastically said, "So, Anne, I guess you were born in the year of the horse?" Ed piped up and said, "As a matter of fact, she was born in the year of the horse." Bob had nothing to say to that. I occasionally talked to my brother Bob Newman, and I sent him cards on his birthday. One day, Bob called me and jokingly said, "If you're going to send me a card, at least put $1 in it, or just don't send a card." He was referring to when we were growing up. When you received a birthday card, you found $1 in it. Now, parents or grandparents might put anywhere from $5 to $20 in with your card. So on his birthday, I started putting $1 in his card. I started having pain and popping in my left knee, so I went to the doctor to see if I could get a referral to an orthopedist. I wanted to see about getting a knee replacement. I got the referral to the orthopedist. He agreed to do the surgery. He asked me if I wanted him to straighten my leg out at the same time. I asked him what he meant. The doctor told me that my knees were in the wrong place. He said that my knees are on the outer part of my leg instead of in the middle. I asked him, "Docs, does that mean the military doctor who told me I have weird knees was correct?" He said yes, but I wouldn't use that terminology. I told him to go ahead and straighten out my leg. He said he could do both of my legs and straighten them both out. I opted to do just the left leg. It was a good thing because I had problems with physical therapy. My back infection was back. Dr. E ran some sputum tests with the state lab, TB lab. I had to take all three of previous drugs plus a fourth drug to get rid of the MAC infection. I was tired all the time, but I was finally getting rid of the MAC infection. It took me 9 months to a year, but I no longer have a MAC infection. I made it through physical therapy and can walk normally again. Ed and I volunteered to work FanCom. I did registration with Zero Dog, and Ed did security with Heather. Heather lived with us and Bob. She worked, but she also worked as a volunteer firefighter and fire responder. She studied to become an EMT. Ed became a volunteer firefighter and drove the water truck. Our oldest son, Eric, married Carol in October 2017 at the Justice of the Peace in Montgomery, Alabama. Carol's mother, Lily, held my hand during the ceremony. Lily looked Lily looked beautiful and was such a warm person. Afterwards, we went to the reception at a local restaurant. It was wonderful, and we had a great time. The first picture below is a picture of Eric and Carol taking their vows in front of the Justice of the Peace. The second picture is a picture of the wedding cake. The last picture is of the groom cake, which is chocolate. And the next picture is with Carol, her mom, and her cousins, and Eric. The next picture is of Eric and Carol. She looks beautiful in a white gown, and Ed has got his suit on. The next picture is of myself, Eric, Carol, and Ed. I have a little jacket on, which is beige, and a green dress. Eric is wearing his suit and tie. Carol looks beautiful in her white gown, wedding gown. And Ed has a bolo tie and a white shirt with a jacket on. And the last picture is of Eric Carol, and some of Ed's coworkers. I was still growing like a genealogy tree and looking to see if I could find my birth father. I was looking for a John Houlihan born in Providence, Rhode Island, born between 1924 and 1926. I was having no luck. At one time, I thought I had found him. I had contacted some men named John Houlihan, but they were dead ends. At one time, I thought I had found him. I followed the lead, but the more I researched, the less I believed he was my birth father. During this time, I was messaged on Ancestry.com by a young woman who wanted to know if I could help her find her birth father. We were related as either cousins or niece and aunt. I asked her to tell me what info she had on her birth father. She told me his name was Robert D. Pierce, born April 12, 1950, in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I was stunned. Bob had a daughter he didn't even know about. She also told me the name of her birth mother, Jody C. I told her I would try and help her. I told my brother Bob about it, and he told me he didn't have a daughter. I repeated what she told me and how she had his info. He asked who her mother was, and I told him Jody C. He then told me about his first marriage. His wife left him when he was at work. While he was at work, he came home and she was gone. He went looking for her, and she was with another man. They divorced, and he left not knowing she was pregnant. I suggested he try and contact Jenny, his daughter. I wasn't going to tell her I found her birth father, as I felt it was up to him to do it. He tried, but he told me it was still too painful of a memory. On June 11, 2018, Bob and I were watching a show on TV. We were laughing and cracking jokes about the show when I heard a loud noise like a giant belch. I looked over at Bob and saw his face had collapsed. I knew he was dead. I told Ed and then called 911. I explained to the operator about my brother being dead. She wanted to know if I had given him CPR. I told her no because he's dead. She wanted me to lay him on the floor and give him CPR. For some reason, I couldn't convince her that he couldn't be revived. Bob was 5'11" and about 295 pounds. I'm 5'4" and weighed at the time 135 pounds. There was no way I could lift him out of the chair without injuring myself. The operator called the police and I explained what happened. Ed called the fire department's chaplain, Reggie. The coroner ruled the death by natural causes. Reggie came and gave the Catholic extreme unction last rites. We had decisions to make about the funeral and what to do with his ashes. We contacted Rideout's Brown Service Prattville Chapel. The funeral director was very helpful. We bought a simple casket, urn, and had Bob cremated. While we While we waited to get Bob's ashes, I decided to look at his late wife's headstone. I was thinking of burying Bob's ashes at a cemetery. While looking at Edwina's gravestone, I discovered Bob's, Bob's name was on the gravestone already. There was a place to put his date of birth and death on it. I discussed it with Ed and we decided to save the money and send his ashes to the cemetery. I had to get a certificate for shipping his remains to Reichardt's funeral and cremation services. After we received Bob's ashes, I arranged for a memorial service at our house. We asked Reggie to say a few words at the service. I invited Missy and Chris, Bob and Linda, Gordon and Anita, our sons Eric and his wife Carol, and Mike. Reggie opened up the memorial service with a few prayers. We all told stories about Bob, some funny, some sad, but all filled with love. Bob, while ornery, was a truly kind person and loved by many. Afterwards, we were able to send his ashes with appropriate paperwork to Sylvan Cemetery in Citrus Heights, California. We believed that it was what he would have wanted, as he missed Edwina every day. Shortly after I sent the ashes, I called Sylvan Cemetery and asked them to inform me when they got his ashes so we could set a date for his ashes interment. They agreed. When I got that call, we set a date and time, and I thanked them for all the help. I also called the company that did the headstone, and they and they agreed to put his date of birth and death on the tombstone. I gave them all the information they needed. Bob had already paid for it all when Edwina was buried. Shortly after we had set the date for his ashes interment, Jenny, Edwina's granddaughter, called me. She had heard about Bob's death and wanted to see him buried. She said she didn't realize what a good and kind man he was until she got older. I told her when they were going to bury his ashes at Sylvan Cemetery. I gave her the number to call and a contact. That way she could plan with them for her to be there. I also called the cemetery and let them know who she was and that she wanted to be there to honor him when they buried Bob. Jenny called me after they buried Bob and thanked me. I also thanked her for being there. I contacted my niece Jenny F. on Ancestry. I told her about her father, Robert Pierce. She didn't believe me. It took a lot to convince her. I showed her that every fact about her birth father matched my brother's information: the date of birth, place of birth, the middle initial, the fact that he was married to her birth mother. I explained why he hadn't contacted her before he died. She told me things that her birth mother told her about my brother. The description she gave my brother was nothing like the man I knew. I told her that I would love to meet her sometime. She said she was planning on traveling the country, and if she was near our area, she would call so we could meet. I told her I looked forward to it. Mike told me that he was going to GumpCon in Montgomery. I asked him if I could go with him, and he said yes. Mike picked me up, and we drove over to the convention. I enjoyed seeing all the cosplays as superheroes. I took lots of pictures with my cell phone. Below are pictures of GumpCon. One is a picture of Mike in Doctor Who's TARDIS. There's more pictures of someone looking like a Star Trek or a Trekkie, Star Trek ensign, and more superheroes and pictures. While we were there, we saw Michael Winslow. Mike and I decided to go see if we could get an autograph from him. We stopped to talk to Mr. Winslow. He was very nice and a true gentleman. He looked very debonair in his bowler, cane, and vest. He reminded me of a British gentleman, sort of a John Steed look from the Avengers. We talked a little with him, and I asked for his autograph. I chose a picture of Michael Winslow as Jimi Hendrix. We bought the picture, and Mr. Winslow signed the picture for me. I have it hanging on my wall in my computer room, and below is a picture of Michael Winslow as Jimi Hendrix. I talked on occasion with my brother Bob Newman. One time he called and seemed down. He told me he was going to die soon. I was upset, but I told him I loved him. I had so many warm memories of him doing things together, warm memories of him, Betty, and the kids. Bob died December 11th, 2018. Jim called to tell me that Bob had passed. The only ones left in the family are Jim and me. I try and keep in touch with Jim, sometimes sending him a Christmas card. I was surprised when my card came back as undeliverable. Jim had moved to Florida. In 2019, I asked Mike if he wanted to go see Aria Speedwagon at the Montgomery Performing Arts Center. Mike said yes, so I bought 2 tickets for the concert. Mike asked me if I wanted to go see Elton John in Atlanta on his last tour concert. I said yes, of course. I love going to concerts with good music. The concert for Aria Speedwagon was awesome. The music was great, and I bought a t-shirt at the concert. Below are pictures of the REO Speedwagon concert. Mike and I drove to Atlanta and ate before the concert. We stood in line with hundreds of Elton John fans waiting for the venue to open up. Over to the side stood a middle aged man behind a podium. He had amplifiers and a bullhorn. He brought his two young children, about 9 and 10, a boy and a girl. He was yelling at concert goers to throw away their tickets to Elton John's concert or we're all going to hell. It riled me up. I told him, not my God, as my God is a loving and merciful God. I said, God loves all people. He was screaming about how evil Elton John was and how he had been with George Michaels and how evil Michaels was. Others yelled back at this man to go away and stop being hateful. We finally got into the concert venue and I bought a t shirt that said, Love is a cure. The money from the t shirt went to fund HIV research. The concert was excellent and Elton John put on a hell of a show. And below are pictures of the Elton John concert. And the last picture is Elton John concert in Atlanta, Georgia. I had a corneal transplant in my right eye. It took several months, but it healed. The problem I had was sight from the right eye was a lot worse than the left eye. Dr. S told me I would need bifocals to see and read because of the huge difference. When I went back for my follow-up appointment, my sight wasn't really good. Dr. S said I had to buy the bifocals, not just the regular glasses. So we bought the bifocals. Next appointment, I was still having problems. Dr. S came in and asked me how I liked the glasses. I told him that I hated them. They were hurting my eyes and messing with my focus. They kept sliding down on my nose. The only choice I had left was manual LASIK, which is what I decided to do. It was the best decision I have ever made. My eyesight has gotten better, and I only need glasses for reading really fine print. I have to say I enjoy being retired, relaxing, painting, watching TV, playing Guild Wars 2, and attending furry conventions with my husband. And below is more pictures of furry conventions. Addendum. I want to offer advice to adoptees who are searching for birth family members. 1. Check the rules and regulations for the state you were born in and the state you were adopted in. Sometimes they aren't the same state. 2. States have different ages that an adoptee has to start searching for a birth parent or sibling. In some states, it's 18. In others, it could be 21. Check the rules in the state you are searching. 3. Contact the Department of Social Services in the state you were born in. Contact information should be on the state's website. Some adoptions were done through a private agency, which can hinder a search if the agency has shut down. Contact the Department of Social Services. They may be able to help. 4. Perform a DNA test. You can order a DNA test kit through Ancestry.com, 23andMe, Heritage, Family Tree DNA, and other genealogy sites. The test can be expensive, but there are sales on the DNA kits around certain holidays, Labor Day, Veterans Day, etc. 5. A search angel can help. You can find them in adoptee search groups. They are certified and help adoptees and birth families that are searching for free. Adoptee search groups can be found on Facebook and may be found on other social media sites and are private. 6. You have the right to search or to not search. Don't let anyone tell you you have to search or that you're selfish to search. It's your decision, and it can be a hard decision to make. 7. How to contact someone is another tough decision. You can either write a letter or call them. Think about what you want to say. Be polite and non-confrontational. You can tell them that you're doing genealogy research and this is who you are looking for. You can tell them you're not sure how you're related. Ask them if they are this person or if they know them. It is always possible that the person you're talking to is not who you're looking for, but another relative. Case in point, while I was looking for my birth brother, I looked in Massachusetts because that was where he was born, and Robert Pierce is a common name. Someone found the address and phone number for Robert Pierce, born in 1950 in Massachusetts. I called the number and spoke to Robert Pierce. He wasn't my brother, but my cousin, born the year after my brother. He let me talk to my Uncle John, his father. 8. It's hard to be patient when searching. It can also fill you with some nervousness. I would like to give this advice. Hope for the best and expect the worst. In other words, hope that the family, birth mother or birth father accepts you, was looking for you, and or they're glad that you found them. Be prepared for the possibility that maybe they didn't want to be found or that they reject you. Rejection can be hard to take. If they reject you, do one thing. Give the person you are talking to your name and a way to contact you. Either a phone number or an email address should suffice. That way, if they change their mind, they can contact you. Let them know if all you want is family medical history, especially if you have medical problems. And that is all for right today. And I hope everybody has a good day. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for listening to me and for hopefully buying my book at Amazon.com. If you search on Amazon.com for Ann V. Brady, you will find my books.